Tavis ranked number 33, and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay, yay!
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting for movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the poor and where the prisons is. I was so good like this where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify with you and God in time my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They can be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folk tried to ignore us. When we got the ballot boxes to vote for us. Peace to Stacey and the people of Georgia who galvanized so that we can move forward. Steps are ordered with the president.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, your host and White House correspondent. Joining you live in studio here in Los Angeles, where we are ready to join you in afternoon drive time. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you won't miss an episode as soon as they post. Now, listen, we have a great show in store for you today. In just a little bit, we'll be joined with Mayor Jamil Tito Brown of Youngstown, Ohio. A lot of conversation happening across the country about our nation's mayors, particularly our Black mayors, when it comes to public safety. We're going to see how this trend is cutting in Youngstown, Ohio, among other things. And in our second hour, I'll be joined with Bishop Tolton. We're going to talk about this Christian nationalism that we're seeing at an alarming rate across the country. And we'll hear about what he is doing to address the rise in Christian nationalism across the country. But it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, USA Today is reporting that man beaten by Florida officers in viral video speaks out, saying, "I was really just scared." The man who was pulled out of a car, beaten by Florida police officers during a viral traffic stop, has spoken out for the first time about the incident as his attorneys call for more accountability. His comments to reporters saying, quotes, "That day I just really wanted to know why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out of the car." That's what William McNeil Jr. told reporters about his February 19th arrest that only recently gained traction online, sparking outrage and multiple official reviews. He went on to say, I know I didn't do nothing wrong. I was really just scared, and that's it. His comments come just days after Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters released body camera footage of the arrest and said that McNeil's cell phone footage, taken from inside his car and capturing only a portion of the encounter, didn't provide a full picture of what happened. Well, in multiple body cam videos, officers are seen smashing McNeil's window and striking him multiple times after he locked himself inside the car and questioned why he had been pulled over. The arresting officer said that he had stopped the college student for a headlight and seatbelt violation. McNeil pleaded guilty to resisting police without violence and driving with a suspended license in connection with the February episode. Waters has said that, and this is the Sheriff Waters, I should say, said that an internal review of the officer's conduct is ongoing. DJ Bowers, the officer who broke McNeil's window and struck him at least twice, was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the agency's review. Thank goodness that this young brother, William McNeil Jr., lived to tell the story. How often have we heard stories like this that did not result in the accused being able to tell their side of the story? And so we'll continue to keep our eye out for any accountability in this case. But moving along, the LA Times is reporting that Trump's top federal prosecutor in Los Angeles struggles to secure indictments in protest cases. That's right, to bystanders at the federal courthouse in downtown LA. It sounded as though U.S. Attorney Bill Asali would not take no for an answer. A prosecutor had the irate Trump appointee on speakerphone outside the grand jury room, and he was screaming. His screams were audible, according to 3 law enforcement officials. The grand jury had just refused to indict someone accused of attacking federal law enforcement officers during protest against the recent immigration raids through Southern California. That's according to 2 federal officials. It was exceedingly rare. It was an exceedingly rare outcome after a type of hearing that routinely leads to federal charges being filed. On the overall call, according to 3 officials, the U.S. attorney told a subordinate to disregard the federal government's justice manual, which directs prosecutors to bring only cases they can win at trial. Asali barked that prosecutors should press on and secure indictments as directed by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. So for all the folks out there that believed that there were protesters that were out here assaulting federal officials, assaulting officers, if that was real, odds are the U.S. attorney here would have gotten an indictment. And guess what? They didn't. And he mad. And he gonna stay mad. But, don't believe everything you hear coming out of Washington. Remember when Vice President Vance came to Los Angeles and was saying that, LA was out of control and that there were federal officials that were being assaulted by protesters? So if all of that's true, and if the U.S. attorney is seeking an indictment to prosecute these people, guess what? He didn't get it. Big old hole in that story. Speaking of law enforcement, and speaking of U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, USA Today is reporting that Pam Bondi reportedly told Donald Trump in May that he's named in the Epstein files. That's right. The Attorney General told President Trump in May that he was named multiple times in the government's files on Jeffrey Epstein. That's according to reports from the Wall Street Journal and CNN. A White House official did not dispute Trump's name is mentioned in the Epstein file, telling our friends over at USA Today that briefing binders that Bondi prepared for MAGA influencers in February included the president's name. But the official rejected any suggestion that Trump engaged in wrongdoing in connection with Epstein. Bondi also told the president that he and many other figures were named in the documents. Again, according to reports from the Wall Street Journal and CNN, the Journal cited senior administration officials. And being named in such documents doesn't necessarily mean that the person broke the law, but it means you're in the documents. So, all these maneuvers, all these distractions, we over here talking about everything else but release of these Epstein files. Wonder why. When we come forward, we're switching gears. I'm looking forward to welcoming the mayor of Youngstown, Ohio, making some news today along with his colleagues on the ground, announcing some downtown safety plans. I want to talk to him about this national trend that we're seeing, America's quiet safety revolution. That's what my friend Richard Fowler is calling it. That's what so many are calling it. We're going to hear what Mayor Brown is calling it when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Well, thank you. Yeah. At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
When it comes to back-to-school shopping at Target, you can choose not to choose. From getting what you need to expressing who you are. With prices that make every choice feel right, why not choose all of the above? From backpacks, bedazzled kicks, and picture-day perfect styles as bold as they are. For bring your own lunch days to science project partner days, snack stash days, decorate your locker days, and paint outside the line days. All at prices that will definitely make your day. For all of the above, it's back to school at Target.
Some things can steal your sunshine.
Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and delighted to welcome Mayor Tito Brown of Youngstown, Ohio. He is joining us live in afternoon drive time. How are you, Mr. Mayor?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. And it seems like you're doing pretty well, and the people of Youngstown, Ohio are doing pretty well when it comes to public safety. Talk to us about the big announcement that you all made just today in Youngstown. Is that right?
Yeah. We announced today that we were working on a downtown safety action plan. And in that plan, we just focused on our downtown. We've had a lot of construction, a lot of setbacks in our downtown. So last year we did what we call the open. And it kind of set us, back to start, here's what downtown's open and ready to go. But we found that individuals, some of the business owners decided they wanted to go in a different direction with their crowd and the patrons that they brought in. And we've had conversations with them about, those things are not what we do downtown. I talked about a lot of the investment we've put probably over, $100 and some million in our downtown, whether it be in our renovation to buildings. We just became one of 4 in the state of Ohio for Innovation Hub, and that's in the aerospace and defense industry. So we're investing in downtown, and a lot of business owners are putting a lot of their private equity in this, their private sweat in this. We're putting some public sweat in there, and even some philanthropic groups are there. So we made it known today. We have a couple bad actors downtown, the business who are running it, as well as the landlords who are still taking the rents from these bad business owners. And we're finding that we're spending a lot of time and our resources from our law enforcement doing crowd control. And 3 things we focused on today. We focused on underage drinking. We focused on over capacity in some of these locations, as well as loitering and panhandling. And that's where we're going to focus our time downtown. So we want people to know when you come down to have dinner, if you're on an outside patio, you shouldn't have to worry about somebody asking for a nickel or a dime or a dollar. And that's where we're working on now.
Wow. And so, clearly lots of investments being made, particularly in downtown Youngstown, and it's making a bit of a difference. No, I mean, talk to us about what your public safety numbers are looking like this year compared to last year and the year before.
Yeah, our numbers are still kind of stagnant. We're not seeing a great influx. But I can tell you, we started what we call a cadet program, where we find young men and women who want to be police officers, but they don't have the OPATA training. In Ohio, you have the Ohio Patrol Enforcement training. So they don't have that. And we've partnered with them in an agreement that we would pay for their OPATA training coming through being a cadet if they would give us 5 years on the job. So we're seeing significant growth in that. But we have a law enforcement, our men and women here. We do a lot with less. We punch above our weight class when it comes to our young men and women. But I tell everybody, and this is one of our models in our police department, we lead from the front. Youngstown is the largest plurality of people in the county. So we do things a lot different. We take, I believe, in professional development and training. And in that way, we've made sure every officer, no matter when you leave the city hall or police department, you have a body cam. So that's a number one thing, and that's helped us for more accountability, but more access to the public to see what our men and women are doing.
So let's talk about these trends in public safety, because a lot of folks have been talking about the impact that mayors are having, particularly Black mayors. Frequent contributor on this show, Richard Fowler, who also contributes on Fox News and contributing writer in Forbes, has an article that has gone viral. The headline reads, "Inside America's Quiet Safety Revolution: How Local Leaders Are Cutting Crime Without More Cops." And according to new data from the Vera Institute of Justice and the Council on Criminal Justice, homicides in the U.S. fell by 16% in 2024, with early 2025 showing an even sharper decline. In some cities, shootings are down nearly 40%. Is this trend consistent with what you're seeing in Youngstown?
Absolutely. we over the last 4 years, we've watched a 40% reduction in homicide rates, a 20% reduction in overall crime this year. And we don't really like to say, give our numbers because, one homicide is too many. We're seeing a 50% reduction this year. I think the thing that we've really tapped into more than anything is that we're working smarter and not harder. We are using technology. In our community, we started with the flock cameras, and those are license plate readers. We've probably taken, let's say, 80% of our homicide cases, and those flock cameras have been active to help us solve those crimes. We have Verkada cameras. Those are the ones in the neighborhood, and we can use those as well. So we use drones. We have a whole drone unit. If you call on our A, B, or C shift, we have an officer of patrol that has drones as well as a K9. So we're seeing the trends. But one of the things that we do in Youngstown and that we really pride ourselves on, and my chief Carl Davis really focuses on that. He leans into his faith. We do nonviolent marches throughout the summer with our clergy in our community. And people, if you believe in prayer, that's outstanding. And I think that helps. But I think the other thing is we're building relationships and trust when we're walking in the neighborhood. The residents, and they're looking, they like it, they come on the porch, and we don't miss an opportunity. When they come on the porch, we'll go and talk to them, see them. And a lot of times they'll kind of join in with us at the 4 or 5 block march that we're doing in our community.
And so everything you're saying, it really tracks again with this national trend that we're seeing. The folks over at the Vera Institute tell us that cities in particular, and this isn't just big urban cities, but actually more suburban communities are making real investments in building out a larger comprehensive public safety infrastructure that supports police, supports them to focus on serious crime, and then expands the tools and toolkits of who should be the right first responders to crisis and prevent crime. And so, right now, what's so interesting about this moment that there's been a trend line that suggests that crime decrease started at least last year, if not the year before. But there are folks out there that are crediting this decrease in crime to mass deportations. And they're saying that this is the result, of, ICE agents sort of sweeping away criminals from cities and towns across the country. Mr. Mayor, can you separate the fact from the fiction, at least in Youngstown, Ohio, when it comes to those sorts of assertions?
Yeah, I can tell you that, within the city of Youngstown, that is not an issue, that we see there's not a mass illegal immigration population here. A lot of the arrests that we have are citizens, young men and women who are born and raised in this community, come from this community. So I can't say that that's where we focus our time and effort to say, oh, that's why it's happening. Now, for me, it feels, more that we are building a better connection. I think our judicial system is really understanding that we have some of our people, but we also focus with our program called SERVE, is Citizens Initiative to Reduce Violence. We do intervention. We have 2 pieces that we work on. We get juveniles that we know have been identified as, if they continue on the trend, they can end up 2 places, the 2 yards, either the prison yard or the graveyard. And we're really open and honest with them about it. But also we talk about, here's some resources. So we put them in touch with resources. We do that at the juvenile as well as at the adult level. In adult level, some of them have had a number. They've been down, but they've been identified with us. And we're seeing probably 70-75% of those individuals take advantage of the resources that we provide. So we look at it as a different way, that we're pouring into them, catching them, so that they don't repeat, or if we can do an intervention and prevention, we look at that as well.
There are a number of experts out there that say that local leaders, mayors like yourself, have been on the front lines of bringing violent crime to historic lows. A lot of people point to your neighboring mayor in Chicago. In mid-July, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson marked the 1-year anniversary of the Scaling Community Violence Intervention for a Safer Chicago initiative. And that program targets neighborhoods on the south and west sides where gun violence has surged. Talk to us about what difference Black mayors, your lived experience as a Black man, your leadership as a Black mayor. Talk to us about what difference you think that's made in helping to advance some of the public safety goals that you all have set in Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah, one of the things I tell people all the time, I'm not immune to the violence. I'm born and raised here all my life. And in the early 90s, we were considered homicide town. I lost a lot of family and friends. Even over the last 8 years where I've been a mayor, I've had family and friends who've succumbed to gun violence. But I tell them, if you've never heard the shriek of a mother cry when their baby is dead, that is horrifying. So I take it personal. I look at it as if these are my people, these are my relatives, these are my family and friends. I always tell somebody, probably if not that young man or lady that was the victim, I know the mother or the father or the grandfather. I know somebody in that family. So when I go to work every day, I work as if I want to make sure that I don't have to hear that cry, or I don't have to have a friend or family go through that type of issue in their life.
When we come forward, we're digging beyond some of the biggest trending headlines, particularly coming out of Ohio today. We've talked a lot about some of the comprehensive efforts afoot that are paying off for residents in Youngstown, Ohio, when it comes to addressing public safety. When we come forward, I want to get Mayor Tito Brown's thoughts on Governor DeWine urging his fellow Republicans to consider schools as lawmakers plan to override his veto. This could have an effect on residents in Youngstown, Ohio, and across the state. We'll get his thoughts on that and more when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Mayor Tito Brown of Youngstown, Ohio, when we come forward.
Yes, sir.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tammy Eswick with VIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is cracking down on smoking on trains and buses.
We finally get people to get back on our public transportation system, and then they can't have a pleasant ride because someone wants to smoke. It's unconscionable. It's unthinkable. And I've had enough of this.
Johnson plans on an anti-smoking public awareness campaign, and he wants to put social workers at CTA stops. A former defense attorney connected to Young Thug's Regal trial is being accused of smuggling contraband into the Fulton County Jail. Nicole Fagan was initially charged in February with gang activity and evidence tampering. Monday, 3 additional counts were added. The 34-year-old's prior charges include trafficking meth and multiple counts of providing inmates with prohibited items. Finally, Drake is teasing music fans with his new album, Iceman. No word on a release date. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Brush fire in Chino has the 71 shut down in both directions at Butterfield Ranch Road, Euclid Avenue, and also the connectors from both directions of the 91 to the North 71 shut down. You can take the Carbon Canyon to Imperial Highway as an alternate, or even the 57 or the 15 freeway instead. Let's also take a look at Mid-City. Debris on the 10 eastbound before La Brea, middle lanes blocked. Delays from Centinela. In Van Nuys, a wreck is wrapped up. 405 northbound before Sherman Way, out of lanes. Delays all the way out of Culver City from Venice Boulevard.
Rapid radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies, offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off, free UPS shipping, and add code radio for an extra 5% off.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers moved their training camp this week to San Diego for 3 days. The team is reconnecting with the fan base they left behind when they moved to LA in 2017. The Chargers are working out at the University of San Diego, where Coach Jim Harbaugh started his coaching career in 2004. Wednesday morning, the Chargers did a walkthrough practice aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, a Navy aircraft carrier that will stretch over 3 football fields. The Chargers returned to their El Segundo facility on Thursday. When the LA Sparks beat the Washington Mystics Tuesday in D.C., they won 3 in a row for the first time this season. The 9-14 Sparks are at the Connecticut Sun Thursday night. Former Duke All-American Nolan Smith is the new men's basketball coach at HBCU Tennessee State. Smith replaces Brian Collins, who left to become an assistant coach with the NBA Memphis Grizzlies. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Some things can steal your sunshine.
Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. It's not every day you get to talk to a Mayor Tito Brown. I'm delighted to have you with us right here in afternoon drive time on A More Perfect Union. Mayor Tito Brown of the city of Youngstown, Ohio. Look, I think as goes California, as goes the nation, but also as goes Ohio, as goes the nation. Ohio's a purple state. And I think it's important for us to sort of tap in and separate the fact from the fiction on the ground. And there are no better people that have a good sense of what's happening on the ground than our nation's mayors. And so I always enjoy welcoming mayors to help us get a little bit smarter. And speaking of getting a little bit smarter, there are Republicans in the state of Ohio that are up to some work at odds with Governor DeWine that could have an impact on kids across the state of Ohio. News 5 Cleveland, the ABC affiliate, is reporting that Ohio Governor Mike DeWine is emphasizing the importance of funding and supporting schools as House lawmakers continue to consider overriding his veto. The latest Republican infighting, it started when the governor when the governor shut down several budget provisions that the GOP said would provide private property tax relief. And so, Mayor Brown, where is this thing headed? Might we see Ohio public schools not get the funding that they need in the fall?
Yeah, that's the $1,000 question right now. But first of all, I believe Ohio is more red than ever now. Than if you look at it, look at the trends and happening. I think the issue right now, and I have to applaud the governor for standing up for public education, because being a former school board member and talking with the superintendent often, that would definitely eviscerate what we're dealing with here in our community, because the most vulnerable, you can know that, the biggest thing you need in life is education. And I'm a Youngstown City School graduate. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I went to public schools. So that opportunity, if I had not had that, or someone would have disrupted that, I think, there could be a different story for Tito Brown. So I applaud the governor for doing that. I think my concern is that, education, someone had to fight for the right for education, and some died for that. And I think we got to continue to keep that forward. It shouldn't be a privilege. It should continue to be a right for everyone, equitable right for everyone, definitely across the state of Ohio. If we want to attract a business to come here, we want to make sure that we have leading industries. I mentioned our innovation center, aerospace and defense. We've got to educate our kids. We've got to give them all the tools and resources that they need to do so, no matter what your zip code is. And I think this is one of those fights that I talked to the superintendent just the other week about his, he's amplifying his support and wants the governor to continue the fight for the veto. And we'll see what happens. But again, if we want to grow, if we want to move forward, education is the only thing that once you get it, no one can take it away from you.
Mayor Brown, is this a dress rehearsal for what we might see in other parts of the country? The GOP-controlled legislature is essentially looking to veto an effort that would provide, in the name of providing property tax relief to Ohioans. Might we see this in other states, in other parts of the country? Is the GOP saying, "Hey, America, if you let us, we might do this nationwide"?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, that I think it's one of those pieces you'll see that, if Ohio did it, let us do it. Let's try it. If you look at property tax, if you look at places like Youngstown, our property tax is probably not the highest in the county. So if you're going to take away any of that tax rate, any of that little money that we're getting, now you're talking about, moving things that kids used to appreciate, that they used to have, or no longer there. I think, and I'm not sure, I can't speak for the GOP, but if you look at the trends across the nation, when gerrymandering became, something of a sport now, and they're continuing to use that to continue to control. I think I saw something on the news the other day that there was someone who said, we like to have control. We want both sides to have control. I had civics in school, and I think you need a good balance. And I think we're missing a good balance. I don't mind what they call reasonable criticism, but unreasonable criticism. Reasonable criticism is where we can sit and talk about your idea or find a sweet spot in the middle. I don't think that's the case. I think they just want to say, here's what we thought, here's what we're thinking, here's what we're going to do. And I think that's going to further hurt the citizens of Youngstown, our students in Youngstown, and our economy across the nation.
So just to put a finer point on this, Mr. Mayor, and I really appreciate that you're not only the mayor of Youngstown, Ohio, you're a former school board member, and so you definitely know what you're talking about when it comes to this threat that the GOP is considering in Ohio in the name of providing property tax relief. And so for folks who are less familiar, property taxes fund our public schools across the country. And so the moment you take away property taxes, you divert property taxes, you end property taxes, then that basically creates an existential threat to public education. That is what is happening in the state of Ohio right now. If the GOP-controlled legislature is successful and moves forward with their threat a threat that the governor of Ohio is against, the Republican governor of Ohio,
right?
Saying this is a bridge too far. We need mental health services. We need public education, right? The GOP, the Republican-controlled state legislature in Ohio is saying, we need property tax relief. And this is the way to deliver that. And so this is a test case. Make no mistake about it. It's a test case. It will impact the people of Youngstown, Ohio, and across the state. And if successful, don't be surprised if that comes to a city near you.
And the thing, I think what people fairly realize is that as they say, well, we're going to give you a tax break. Now that's going to be the onus on that community or city to figure out how do we make up that dollar. We still have to educate these kids. And we see it. I see it time and time again. Even some of the most prominent school districts have to put on levies, and people don't want to hear that word. And when you start talking about levies and more taxes, I think they just put the onus back on those communities to do so. And the state of Ohio, we've had a real bad funding formula for so long, and this would further. If you're talking, a home that's $50,000 versus a community where the home is $150,000. Now that person with $50,000 is now saying, I've got to levy more than what I was levying on my taxes already. That's going to hurt. That's going to give people a pause. And I think that's why we're seeing a big unsuccessful wave across our county, even into state, when levies go down in prominent school districts. They're putting it back on the cities, the townships. You figure it out. And we had a formula right now that wasn't the greatest, but it was a formula that was working to give us some sense of stability in education.
Mayor Brown, in our remaining minutes, I want to get your reaction to this story as reported by Reuters. SoftBank and OpenAI's Stargate, they're aiming to build these small data centers by year end. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting on this. Stargate, for folks who are less familiar, they're a multi-billion-dollar effort by ChatGPT's creator OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle to supercharge the U.S. AI ambitions. Well, they're now setting a modest goal of building a small data center by the end of the year, likely in Ohio, according to the Wall Street Journal. Mayor Brown, what is your argument for or against setting up this data center in or around Youngstown, Ohio?
We just had a sit-down conversation with around that same discussion. I don't have enough information. When we start asking, well, how many jobs and, what's the long-term effect? They talk about building. Well, it's going to be a lot of union and construction jobs. But at the end of the day, how many people are going to actually be affected by this and who's going to benefit? I don't want to further take away from our community, with these data centers if it's not going to benefit my citizens. I tell anybody, Youngstown's open for business, but you got to be open for business for my citizens. It's got to help them. It's got to help provide for them and has to impact their lives for a better quality life. So there was not a lot of answers. There were more questions, and I still have a lot more questions about the data centers.
Well, we have questions too. And so when your questions get answered about the data centers potentially coming to Ohio, we want to invite you back to download with us. We know that there is this commitment from the administration to build these data centers in partnership with the private sector across the country. And we know that Ohio has been named as one of the states where they're looking to do it. Everything, of course, that glitters isn't gold. And we all are eager to know what impact these data centers will have in the near term and long term when it comes to employment, when it comes to climate, when it comes to safety, when it comes to so many things. And so our thanks to Mayor Tito Brown of the city of Youngstown, Ohio. We appreciate you, Mayor.
Doc, thank you so much. How do you pronounce your name?
Nii-Quartelai Quartet.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you for having me. Look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. The quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults age 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and again, my thanks to Mayor Tito Brown of Youngstown, Ohio. That was a really great conversation. We can't wait to have him back again soon, particularly to zero in on what's happening with these data centers that are being built across the country, at least plans to build these data centers across the country. There are a lot of impacts, economic impact, environmental impacts that they might have. There are a number of folks calling attention to the climate pollution that can result from these data centers. So many things that we don't know, that we want to know and need to know. And so we're going to stay on it. But speaking of staying in the know, the LA Times is reporting that Edison is offering to pay Eaton fire victims for damages in a move to avoid litigation. Seeking to avoid lengthy litigation, Southern California Edison said just today that it will offer to compensate Eaton fire victims directly for damages suffered, even though it is yet to formally concede that its equipment ignited the blaze on January 7th. Edison said that it planned to launch a wildfire recovery compensation program. They're going to launch it this fall, and they're saying that it's going to be open to those who lost homes, those who lost businesses or rental properties in the fire that killed 19 people and destroyed more than 9,400 homes and other structures in Altadena. Now, it would also cover those who were harmed by smoke, suffered physical injuries, or had family members who died. The utility said that it had hired consultants, Kenneth R. Feinberg and Camille S. Biros, who had worked on the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund to help design the program. Again, the LA Times is reporting that dozens of lawsuits have been filed against Edison in the wake of the January 7th fire, that videos captured igniting under a transmission line in Eaton Canyon. The cause, of course, is still under investigation, but there are a number of experts saying that the leading theory is that an idle Edison transmission line, last used in 1971, somehow became re-energized and started the blaze. That is the theory. An attorney who represents fire victims expressed some skepticism of the plan, saying that it could lead to reduced compensation for fire victims. Attorney Richard Bridgeford said, quotes, "In the past, utilities have proposed these programs as a means for shortening and underpaying victims." He went on to say that victims have uniformly done better when represented by counsel. Edison said that the program would be designed to quickly compensate victims, including those who were insured. People who may be interested can apply with or without an attorney, and the program is expected to run through 2026. And so a lot of eyes on this compensation fund that Edison has set up. There is some skepticism that we are learning about in this hour, but you better believe my colleague James Farr is going to be on top of this, as he has been on top of all things related to the recovery of Altadena. And I want to encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to tap into Conversations Live. Conversations Live, Altadena Rising, every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I want to encourage you to tap into that show of record, where every week James Farr is featuring folks who are playing a hand in this recovery effort, people who are victims themselves. I think it's great to sort of tap in to help separate the fact from the fiction. You know, this was a disaster of ginormous proportion. And there are a lot of folks that are still figuring out what the next right step is for them, what the next right step is for their families, people who have lived in Altadena for generations, folks who have lived there even, for decades. And they deserve to have all the options available to them, all the resources available to them. This disaster happened at no fault of them. At no fault of them. And so a lot of folks are keeping an eye out for the kind of support that they can expect. And so again, the LA Times is reporting that Edison said that it planned to launch a wildfire recovery compensation program this fall that would be open to those who lost homes, those who lost businesses, those who lost rental properties in the fire. It would also accept claims for injuries and fatalities. Again, an attorney representing fire victims has criticized the plan, saying it could lead to victims being shortchanged. We are going to keep our eye on that and keep the experiences of our brothers and sisters and siblings in Altadena. We're going to keep their experiences front and center. Front and center. 100 days after the fire, you might remember that KBLA was right there in neighboring Pasadena, hosting a town hall, elevating the voices of folks who have been impacted by this tragedy. And we made a pledge then that I think we've done a pretty good job keeping, which is we're not going to forget about you. You know, there may be a lot of national media outlets that parachuted in to capture the story while it was happening. Well, you know, we know that it takes time for justice to be served. It takes time for people to be made whole. It takes time for resources to reach the people who need them the most. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to draw attention to those things, good attention, welcomed attention to those things. And so we're going to keep our eye on that. When we come forward in our next hour, of course, we're going to be digging into some of the biggest trending headlines, but I'm looking forward to being in conversation with Bishop Tolton, Bishop Joseph W. Tolton. He is an openly gay global faith leader and foreign policy expert who is here to talk about the Christian nationalist movement. Yeah, he is not just talking about it, but he's doing something to address it. And I think if you're like me, you want to learn more about it. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now. We're following breaking news out of Lorain, Ohio. 3 cops were shot. 2 of them are in critical condition. We're gathering more information from officers, but what we do know is that the suspect in this case was shot and killed, according to 19 News. It happened around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Multiple agencies are on scene, as well as the U.S. Marshals. 19 News says sources told them they aren't looking for any other suspects at this time.
This was an ambush situation. This is a difficult day for the Lorain Police Department.